Good morning students. Welcome to Department of Anatomy at SRTR Medical College, Ambajogai. In the previous lectures, we have seen about hindbrain and midbrain. Today we will start about the forebrain, and in that today we will see about that cerebrum. So this cerebrum, it is the largest part of brain. It is situated in the anterocranial fossa, middle cranial fossa and the supratentorial compartment of posterior cranial fossa. This cerebrum, it consists of two cerebral hemispheres, and these two cerebral hemispheres, they are separated by longitudinal fissure. And this longitudinal fissure, it runs anteroposteriorly. It is separated from cerebellum posteriorly by the tentorium cerebelli. That is, cerebrum, it is present on the superior aspect of tentorium cerebelli, and cerebellum, it is present on the inferior aspect in the posterior cranial fossa. Weight of cerebrum, it is about 1380 gram in male and about 1250 gram in female. Now this is the photograph showing the superior view of cerebrum. So this cerebrum, it is made up of two cerebral hemispheres, and these two cerebral hemispheres, they are separated from each other by this longitudinal fissure. This fissure, it lies in the midline from anterior to posterior aspect, and these two hemispheres, they are incompletely separated by this longitudinal fissure, because in the floor of this fissure there is the thick bundle of fibers, and that is called as corpus callosum. And this corpus callosum, it is the commissural type of fibers. They connect the two cerebral hemispheres. So these two cerebral hemispheres, they are connected with each other by that corpus callosum. This longitudinal fissure, it is occupied by the falx cerebri, that is the fold of dura mater, and also in this fissure there are anterior cerebral vessels. Now this surface of cerebral hemispheres, it is not smooth. It shows these foldings, and these foldings, they are separated from each other by these depressions or grooves, and these are grooves, they are called as sulci, and these foldings or these convolutions which are present between these sulci, that is called as gyri. External surface of cerebral hemisphere, it is covered by gray matter, and that is known as cerebral cortex. And deep to cortex, central core of each cerebral hemisphere is formed by the white matter. That means in the cerebrum, peripherally gray matter is present which forms the cerebral cortex, and centrally white matter is present, that is opposite to the spinal cord. In the spinal cord, centrally there is gray matter and peripherally is the white matter, and in the cerebrum, peripherally there is gray matter which forms the cerebral cortex, and central core, it is formed by white matter. Within the white matter, large masses of gray matter are present which are called as basal nuclei or basal ganglia. Each cerebral hemisphere has a large and extensive cavity known as lateral ventricle. So there are two lateral ventricles, that is each present in one cerebral hemisphere. This is the coronal section of cerebrum, which shows, that is this peripherally situated gray matter that forms the cerebral cortex, and the central core of this each cerebral hemisphere, it is formed by white matter, and within this white matter, that is the large masses of gray matter, they are situated, and these are the lentiform nucleus, and here small part of that caudate nucleus is seen, that is the head of the caudate nucleus in this section. Then these two cerebral hemispheres, they are connected by this corpus callosum. Then each cerebral hemisphere, it is having the cavity, that is the lateral ventricle. So beneath this corpus callosum, that is on each side there are two lateral, on each side there is one lateral ventricle which are separated by this septum pellucidum. Inferiorly this septum pellucidum, it is attached to fornix. So this septum pellucidum, it separates the two lateral ventricles. This is the photograph of coronal section, that is peripherally there is gray matter, that is the cerebral cortex. Central core, it is formed by this white matter. Then these are the two lateral ventricles separated from each other by this septum pellucidum, which is attached superiorly to the corpus callosum and inferiorly to the fornix, and these two lateral ventricles, they communicate with the third ventricle which is present between the two thalami through the interventricular foramina. Then within this white matter there are, that is the masses of that grey matter, so that is the lentiform nucleus, and here the, that is the small part of the caudate nucleus. Then lateral to this lentiform nucleus there is the insula, and this third ventricle on each side it is bounded by that thalamus. Then inferiorly these are two mammillary bodies which we have seen in the interpeduncular fossa. The external surface of cerebral hemisphere is not smooth. They show grooves or depressions called as sulci, and which are separated by folded areas, and these are called as gyri. So this outer surface of cerebrum, external surface of cerebrum, it is not smooth. It shows these depressions or grooves, these are called as sulci, and these elevations or folding, these are called as gyri. This sulci and gyri, they develops to increase the surface area to accommodate the large amount of neurons in the cerebral cortex, and this large amount of neurons, they are necessary for to increase the processing of information or to enhance the processing of information which is carried from the periphery. The surface area of this cerebral cortex, it is about 2200 to 2500 square centimeter. This cerebrum, it is up to the 4th month of intrauterine life, it is smooth, and this formation of sulci and gyri, it starts at the 4th to 5th month of intrauterine life, and it is completed just before birth. And presence of this sulci and gyri, it is the prominent feature of the human brain or human cerebrum. Now we will see about external features of cerebral hemisphere. So it is having 3 poles: frontal, occipital and temporal pole. It is having 3 borders: superomedial border, inframedial border and infralateral border, and it is having 3 surfaces, that is superolateral surface, medial surface and inferior surface. Now we will see about one by one. So first, poles. It is having 3 poles. So these poles, they are the pointed ends, and the frontal pole, it is directed anteriorly, that is the pole or the end which is directed anteriorly, that is called as frontal pole. Then posteriorly directed end, that is called as occipital pole, and in between this frontal pole and the occipital pole there is the third pole, that is the temporal pole, and it is directed anteriorly and downward. So it is having 3 poles, that is frontal anteriorly directed, occipital posteriorly directed, and the temporal pole which is directed antero-inferiorly. So this is the superolateral surface of that cerebral hemisphere. Now surfaces, it is having 3 surfaces. So this is the superolateral surface. This is the coronal section of the cerebral hemisphere which shows borders and surfaces. So here at the superior aspect there is the superomedial border that is present superiorly. Then on the inferior aspect there are 2 borders, that is the lateral is the infralateral border and medially is the inframedial border. Now the surface present between this superomedial border and this infralateral border, it is called as superolateral surface. The surface present between infralateral border and the inframedial border, it is called as inferior surface, and the surface present between inframedial border and the superomedial border, it is the medial surface, and this medial surface, it is present or it is direct towards the medial surface of other cerebral hemisphere. So this is the superolateral surface of cerebral hemisphere, and this superolateral surface, it is present between this superomedial border and the infrolateral border. So on this lateral aspect, two borders are seen, that is the superomedial border and the infrolateral border, and in between these two borders there is the surface that is called as superomedial surface. Now this is the medial surface of cerebral hemisphere, and to identify the medial surface, most important structure, prominent structure present on the medial surface is the corpus callosum. This corpus callosum, it is the thickest, largest bundle of white fibers in the brain, and this corpus callosum, it is the type of commissural fibers. So white matter of this cerebrum, it consists of three types of fibers: association fibers that connect the areas in the same cerebral hemisphere, then commissural fibers. These commissural fibers connect the same areas of two cerebral hemispheres, and the projection fibers that connects the areas of cerebrum to the other subcortical center. For example, corticospinal tract, it is the projection type of fiber. So internal capsule, it is the example of that projection type of fibers. So this medial surface, most prominent feature is this corpus callosum. This is the C-shaped structure present on the medial surface. This corpus callosum, from anterior to posterior side, it is having the rostrum, which is thin part, then genu, then body of the corpus callosum, and posterior thick end of this corpus callosum is called as splenium. So this is the medial surface of that cerebral hemisphere, and on the medial surface, this medial surface, it is present between superomedial border. So this is the superomedial border, and this inferiorly, this is the infromedial border. So in between these two borders, that is the medial border and this superomedial border, this medial surface is present, and this medial surface, it is the flat vertical surface, and it is separated from the medial surface of other cerebral or opposite cerebral hemisphere, that is the longitudinal fissure and the falx cerebri. That superolateral surface, this superolateral surface, it is the large convex, and externally it is related with the vault of the skull or the skull cap. Now this is the inferior surface. So this inferior surface, it is present between this infrolateral border and the infromedial border. Now on the inferior surface, there is the one sulcus present, and that is the lateral sulcus, and stem of that lateral sulcus, it divides this inferior surface into two parts. Anterior part, that is called as orbital surface, and this orbital surface, it is in relation with the orbital plate of the frontal bone, so it is called as orbital surface. And the posterior part, it is called as tentorial surface, and it is related with the tentorium cerebelli, so it is called as tentorial surface. Now this infrolateral border, its anterior part of this infrolateral border, which forms the lateral border of this orbital surface, it is called as superciliary border, and it is called as superciliary border because it is present just behind the superciliary arches or just above the eyebrow. Then this medial border, it is divided into two parts, that is the anterior part, that is called as medial orbital border, and this medial orbital border, and this posterior is called as this medial occipital border. Now this medial orbital border, it separates this orbital surface from the medial surface, and this medial occipital border, it separates this tentorial surface from the medial surface. So this medial border, it is divided into two parts, that is the anterior part, medial orbital border, which forms the medial border of this orbital surface, and the medial occipital border, which forms that medial border of that tentorial surface. So this is about the poles, borders and surfaces of cerebral hemisphere. So each cerebral hemisphere, it is having three poles, that is frontal pole, occipital pole and the temporal pole. Three surfaces, superolateral surface, medial surface and inferior surface, and three borders, infrolateral border, infromedial border, which is divided into medial orbital and the medial occipital borders, and third border is the superomedial border. Now we will see about lobes of cerebral hemisphere. So each cerebral hemisphere, it is divided into 4 lobes, that is frontal lobe, parietal lobe, temporal lobe and occipital lobe. There are also 2 lobes, that is called as insula and the limbic lobe. These 4 lobes, that is the frontal, parietal and the occipital and this temporal, they are well defined on the superolateral surface. So this is the superolateral surface of cerebral hemisphere. So before going to these lobes, we will see important sulci on the superolateral surface. So this superolateral surface, it presents the one sulcus which begins at the superomedial border, and that is called as central sulcus. So this central sulcus, it begins at the superomedial border just behind the midpoint between frontal pole and the occipital pole, and this sulcus, it runs downwards and forwards towards the other sulcus, and that is called as posterior ramus of this lateral sulcus. Then other sulcus, that is this posterior ramus of lateral sulcus. Now this lateral sulcus, it begins on the inferior surface which divides that inferior surface into the orbital part and the tentorial part, and after it starts, that is the stem of that lateral sulcus, it lies on the inferior surface. Then that sulcus, it runs laterally and comes on this superolateral surface, and at this superolateral surface, it divides into 3 rami or 3 branches, and these are named, that is the anterior horizontal, anterior ascending, and the largest branch or largest ramus is the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. So this posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus, it runs backwards on the superolateral surface, and its posterior end, it is upturned. So these 2 sulci, that is the central sulcus and this is the posterior ramus of lateral sulcus. Then posteriorly at this superomedial border, there is the one sulcus just appear, that is the parieto-occipital sulcus. This parieto-occipital sulcus, it is mainly present on the medial surface, but its upper end or its posterior part, it crosses superomedial border and it reaches on the superolateral surface 5 cm in front of this, about 5 cm in front of this occipital pole, and that is the parieto-occipital sulcus. Then at this infralateral border, about 5 cm in front of this occipital pole, there is the notch or depression. That notch or depression is called as pre-occipital notch, which is produced due to that petrous part of the temporal bone. And now the 2 imaginary lines are drawn. That is, first imaginary line, it connects that parieto-occipital sulcus with this pre-occipital notch, and the second imaginary line, it is the backward continuation of this posterior ramus of lateral sulcus, except this posterior upturned end. So this backward continuation of this posterior ramus which joins with the first imaginary line. And now these 2 sulci, that is the central sulcus and posterior ramus of lateral sulcus, first imaginary line and this second imaginary line, they divide this superolateral surface or this cerebral hemisphere into 4 lobes, and these 4 lobes, they are frontal, parietal, occipital and the temporal, and these lobes, they are named according to bones in which they are related. So first we will see about this frontal lobe. This frontal lobe, it is present in front of this central sulcus, above the anterior part of this posterior ramus of lateral sulcus, and superiorly it is bounded by this superomedial border. So this is the frontal lobe which is bounded superiorly by superomedial border, posteriorly by this central sulcus and inferiorly by this posterior ramus of anterior part of posterior ramus of lateral sulcus. Then next lobe, that is the parietal lobe, which is bounded anteriorly by this central sulcus, posteriorly by the upper part of first imaginary line. superiorly by this superomedial border, and inferiorly it is bounded by posterior part of this posterior ramus of lateral sulcus and the second imaginary line. So this is the parietal lobe, which is bounded anteriorly by central sulcus, posteriorly by upper part of first imaginary line, superiorly by superomedial border, and inferiorly by this part of posterior ramus and the second imaginary line. This occipital lobe, it is present behind the first imaginary line, and this temporal lobe, which is present anterior to the lower part of first imaginary line. Superiorly it is bounded by posterior ramus of lateral sulcus and the second imaginary line, and inferiorly there is, that is the infralateral border. So this temporal lobe, it is present anterior to this lower part of first imaginary line and inferior to this posterior ramus of lateral sulcus and the second imaginary line. So these are the lobes present on the superolateral surface, that is the frontal, parietal, occipital and temporal, and these lobes, they are well defined on the four lobes, they are well defined on the superolateral surface. Now this diagram, it shows lobes on the medial surface and inferior surface. On the medial surface, main three lobes are present. In the middle of this medial surface, that central sulcus, which begins at this superomedial border, its small part, it extends into the medial surface, and that part of this medial surface anterior to this central sulcus, that is the line, imaginary line that joins this central sulcus and this corpus callosum. So anterior to this, that is the frontal lobe. Then this parieto-occipital sulcus, which is mainly present on the this medial surface, the part between anterior to this parieto-occipital sulcus and this line, imaginary line from this central sulcus to the corpus callosum, that is the parietal lobe, and the part which is present behind this parieto-occipital sulcus, that is the occipital lobe. This temporal lobe, it is seen on the inferior surface. So on the inferior surface, three lobes are seen, frontal lobe and the temporal lobe. These two lobes, they are separated by this stem of the lateral sulcus. So this stem of lateral sulcus, it is present between this orbital surface and the temporal pole. So inferiorly there is frontal lobe, temporal lobe and this occipital lobe. So these are the lobes of cerebral hemisphere. Now other lobes, they are described, that is called as insula and the limbic lobe. This insula, it is not seen on the external aspect, it is hidden by the, or hidden in the depth of that lateral sulcus, that is, it is hidden in the depth of stem of lateral sulcus and the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus, and it is seen by removing the area which form the margins of, or the removing the part of cortex which form the margins of this posterior ramus of this lateral sulcus, and after removing that adjacent area, you can see this insular cortex which is present at the depth of this posterior ramus of lateral sulcus. It is surrounded by this circular sulcus, and this part of this insular cortex, it presents the short and long gyri. This photograph, it shows insular cortex which is hidden at the depth of this posterior ramus of lateral sulcus. This adjacent parts of this cerebrum, it is removed, and this is the insular cortex. It is surrounded by this circular sulcus, and it is having the short and long gyri which are separated by this sulci. And this insular cortex, it plays an important role in the emotional behavior, and it also plays important role in the control of motor and sensory functions of autonomic nervous system. Then other lobe is described, that is called as limbic lobe. This limbic lobe, it is a part of limbic system, and which is formed by that cingulate gyrus and the parahippocampal gyrus. Now we will see about this sulci and gyri on the cerebrum. So first we will see about this sulci and gyri on the superolateral surface. So this diagram, it shows sulci and gyri on the superolateral surface. We have seen about this central sulcus, which is present on the superolateral surface. In front of this central sulcus, there is the precentral sulcus, which runs parallel to this central sulcus, and the area between this central sulcus and the precentral sulcus, that is called as precentral gyrus. Now the area of this frontal lobe in front of this precentral sulcus, there are 2 sulci and 3 gyri, and these 2 sulci, they run anteroposteriorly, and these are the superior frontal sulcus and the inferior frontal sulcus, and these 2 sulci that divides this part of the frontal lobe into the superior frontal gyrus, middle frontal gyrus and the inferior frontal gyrus. In the inferior frontal gyrus, there are 2 small sulci, and these are the rami or branches of that lateral sulcus. So this is the first is the anterior horizontal ramus, and the second is the anterior ascending ramus. They are named according to their direction, and ascending means it ascends upward, and horizontal means it runs horizontally. Now this inferior frontal gyrus, due to this ramaya, it is divided into 3 parts. The part which lies beneath this anterior horizontal ramus, that is called as pars orbitalis. Then the part which is present in between these 2 rami, that is the anterior horizontal and this anterior ascending, that is the pars triangularis, and the part of this inferior frontal gyrus which present behind this anterior ascending ramus, that is called as pars opercularis. So this inferior frontal gyrus, it is divided into 3 areas, that is the pars orbitalis, that is the A here shown, that is the pars orbitalis. B, which is present between this horizontal and ascending rami, that is the pars triangularis, and the C, that is the pars or opercularis. So these are the sulci and gyri in this frontal lobe. So in the frontal lobe, there are presence of this precentral sulcus and precentral gyrus, then superior frontal sulcus and inferior frontal sulcus, superior frontal gyrus, middle frontal gyrus, inferior frontal gyrus, and within this inferior frontal gyrus there is pars orbitalis, pars triangularis and pars orbitalis, pars opercularis. Then we will see about the sulci and gyri on this temporal lobe. So this temporal lobe, it is having 2 sulci and 3 gyri, and these sulci which run anterior posteriorly, and these are the superior temporal sulcus, and its posterior end, it is upturned and it extends into this parietal lobe. Then inferior temporal sulcus, its posterior end, it also turns upward, and 3 gyri, that is the superior temporal gyrus, middle temporal gyrus and the inferior temporal gyrus. Then sulci gyri in the parietal lobe. Behind this central sulcus, there is the post-central sulcus, and this post-central sulcus, it runs parallel with this central sulcus, and the area between this central sulcus and post-central sulcus is called as, that is the post-central gyrus, and this post-central gyrus, it forms, that is the primary sensory area. Then behind this post-central sulcus, this parietal lobe, it is divided into superior parietal lobule and the inferior parietal lobule by this intraparietal sulcus. So this is the intraparietal sulcus, and it divides this part of parietal lobe into the superior parietal lobule and inferior parietal lobule. Now the part of this inferior parietal lobule which lies around this posterior upturned end of this superior, that is posterior upturned end of this posterior ramus of lateral sulcus, and this area is called as supramarginal gyrus. So this supramarginal gyrus, it is the area present around this upturned posterior end of this posterior ramus. Then similarly, this area of this inferior parietal lobule which is present around the upturned end of this superior temporal sulcus, and that is called as angular gyrus. So this in this inferior parietal lobule there are the supramarginal gyrus and the angular gyrus. Similarly, that posterior end of this inferior temporal sulcus, it is surrounded by the part of that area of the cortex, and which contributes parts of this temporal lobe and the occipital lobe, and that is called as arcus occipitotemporalis. So this is the arcus occipitotemporalis or the arcus temporo-occipitalis, which is present around this upturned end of this inferior temporal sulcus. So these are the sulci and gyri in the parietal lobe. Then sulci and gyri in the this occipital lobe. So this occipital lobe, it is divided into superior occipital gyrus and the inferior occipital gyrus by this lateral occipital sulcus. So this lateral occipital sulcus, it divides this occipital lobe into the superior occipital gyrus and the inferior occipital gyrus. Then just in front of this occipital pole, there is the one sulcus present, and that is the lunate sulcus, and this lunate sulcus, it separates this occipital, superior occipital gyrus and inferior occipital gyrus from this occipital pole. So these are the sulci and gyria on the superolateral surface. Now this posterior ramus of this lateral sulcus, it runs backwards. Its posterior end, it is upturned in this parietal lobe, and this posterior ramus, it is having the two margins, two lips, that is the superior and inferior, and this inferior lip or inferior margin, it is formed by this temporal lobe, and this superior surface of this inferior margin, it presents the two gyria, that is the anterior and posterior transverse temporal gyria, which are present in the superior aspect of this inferior lip of this posterior ramus, and these gyria, they form the auditory area. So this is the photograph of the superolateral surface of cerebral cortex, and here you can see this sulci and gyria. So first, this is the, see, from the superomedial margin there is the central sulcus. Then in front of this central sulcus, that is there is the precentral sulcus, and in between this is the precentral gyrus. Then enter to this precentral sulcus, these two sulci, that is the superior and inferior frontal sulci, and three gyria, that is the superior frontal gyrus, middle frontal gyrus and the inferior frontal gyrus. And in this inferior frontal gyrus, there is the, this is a anterior horizontal ramus, and this one is the anterior ascending ramus, and here are these three areas, that is the pars orbitalis, pars triangularis and pars opercularis. Then in this temporal lobe, that is there is the superior temporal sulcus, inferior temporal sulcus, and these three gyria, superior, middle and inferior temporal gyria. Then this is the posterior ramus of lateral sulcus, and this is the superior margin, and this is the inferior margin of this posterior ramus. So this, it is formed by the temporal lobe. So this is the superior surface of that inferior margin of this posterior ramus, and in this inferior margin there is the superior surface, and on which there is the auditory area, that is the anterior and posterior transverse temporal gyri. Then in the parietal lobe, here there is the postcentral sulcus and the postcentral gyrus. So this is the postcentral sulcus and this is the postcentral gyrus. Then here is the intraparietal sulcus and the superior and inferior parietal lobules, and in the occipital lobe, that is there is the this lunate sulcus. Then here is the angular gyrus and the supramarginal. This is the supramarginal gyrus, which is present around this upturned end of this posterior ramus of lateral sulcus. Now we will see about sulci and gyri on the medial surface. So this medial surface, most prominent feature is the corpus callosum, and this corpus callosum, it is separated from this medial surface by the callosal sulcus. Now then there is another sulcus which runs parallel with this convexity of this corpus callosum, and that is called as cingulate sulcus. So this cingulate sulcus, it starts anterior to this genu of corpus callosum, and then it runs backward along the this corpus callosum parallel to this corpus callosum, and then it turns upward and it ends at the superomedial margin just behind the central sulcus. Now this central sulcus, which is present on the superolateral surface, it also its small part, it extends on the medial surface, and that this cingulate sulcus, it ends just behind this central sulcus. Now the part between this callosal sulcus and the cingulate sulcus is the cingulate gyrus. So this cingulate gyrus, it runs posteriorly and it is separated from that area that is called as precuneus by the suprasplenial sulcus. The part of this frontal lobe which is present that above this cingulate sulcus, that is called as medial frontal gyrus. Now this cingulate sulcus just anterior to this central sulcus, it gives one branch which ascends upward towards the superomedial margin, and that is called as paracentral sulcus, and the area which is present around this central sulcus, which is bounded anteriorly by this paracentral sulcus, which is a branch of this cingulate sulcus, and posteriorly it is bounded by this posterior end of this cingulate sulcus, and that is called as paracentral lobule. So this paracentral lobule, it is the area around this central sulcus. Now in the posterior part, that is the above this suprasplenial sulcus, there is the area that is called as precuneus. Then posteriorly there is the parieto-occipital sulcus, and this parieto-occipital sulcus, it extends on the superolateral surface also, we have seen already. Now the area in between this parieto-occipital sulcus behind the posterior upturned end of this cingulate sulcus and above the suprasplenial sulcus, that is called as precuneus area. Then on the posterior aspect of this medial surface, there is the one sulcus, and that is called as calcarine sulcus, and this area in between this parieto-occipital sulcus and the calcarine sulcus, it is called as cuneus. So it is the triangular area that is called as cuneus, which is present between this parieto-occipital sulcus and the calcarine sulcus, and this one is the lingual gyrus. This lingual gyrus, it also extends on the inferior surface. So these are the sulci and gyri on the medial surface. Now this photograph, it shows the sulci and gyri on the medial surface. They are not named here, but I will show here. See above this corpus callosum, see this arrow is tracing that sulcus. Above this corpus callosum there is the callosal sulcus. Then this is the cingulate sulcus which turns upward and ends at this superomedial border, and now this area between this callosal sulcus and the cingulate sulcus is the cingulate gyrus. Then superior and anterior to this cingulate sulcus, this is the medial frontal gyrus. Then this is the paracentral lobule. Then posteriorly, that is, there is the parieto-occipital sulcus and the calcarine sulcus. Here is the suprasplenial sulcus. So this part that is between this parieto-occipital and the cingulate sulcus, this is the precuneus. This is the cuneus in between this parieto-occipital sulcus and this calcarine sulcus, that is the precuneus, and this is the lingual gyrus. This one is the calcarine sulcus. Now this is the corpus callosum. This is the septum pellucidum, which separates the two lateral ventricles. Then here, these are the parts derived from the diencephalon, that is the thalamus and subthalamus, and here lies the third ventricle. This is the sagittal section of brain, that means it includes all, that is the cerebral hemispheres, then parts derived from the diencephalon, that is the thalamus, then here is the midbrain, pons, and the medulla oblongata. And on this medial surface of cerebrum, here you can see this parieto-occipital sulcus, calcarine sulcus. In between this there is the cuneus, then here is the cingulate gyrus, then central sulcus, and around this, that is the paracentral lobule. Now we will see about the sulci and gyri on the inferior surface. This inferior surface, it is divided into two parts by the stem of this lateral sulcus, and into the orbital surface and the tentorial surface. So first we will see about this orbital surface. On this orbital surface, that is the one sulcus, it runs anterior to posterior, and that is called as olfactory sulcus, and this olfactory sulcus, it lodges that olfactory tract. Medial to this olfactory sulcus, that is the gyrus rectus, that means this gyrus rectus, it is present between olfactory sulcus and the medial orbital border. Then lateral to this olfactory sulcus, this orbital surface, it is divided into four gyria, that is the anterior orbital gyrus, posterior orbital gyrus, medial orbital gyrus, and the lateral orbital gyrus by this H-shaped sulcus. So this is the H-shaped sulcus having two vertical limbs and one horizontal limb, which divides this orbital surface into four orbital gyri. Then this is the tentorial surface. On this tentorial surface, that is there are two sulci which runs anterior to posterior. First is the collateral sulcus. So here this is the collateral sulcus, and this anteriorly, this collateral sulcus, it is continuous with the sulcus that is called as rhinal sulcus, and this rhinal sulcus, it separates the part of this temporal lobe from the anterior pole, that is from the temporal pole, that is called as uncus. So this uncus, it is a hook shaped part of temporal lobe which is separated from the temporal pole by this rhinal sulcus. Then other sulcus, that is the occipitotemporal sulcus, and these two sulci that divides this tentorial surface into the parahippocampal gyrus. This is the parahippocampal gyrus. This parahippocampal gyrus, posteriorly it is continuous with the lingual gyrus. Then medial occipitotemporal gyrus and the lateral occipitotemporal gyrus. This is the inferior aspect of brain, which shows, that is the sulci and gyri on the inferior aspect. Now here you can see this olfactory sulcus. In this olfactory sulcus there is the olfactory tract. Then this is the gyrus rectus or rectus gyrus. Then this is the H-shaped sulcus which divides this orbital surface into these four gyria, that is the anterior, posterior, medial and lateral orbital gyria. Then on the tentorial surface, here this is the uncus, this one is the rhinal sulcus, here this is the rhinal sulcus, then this is the collateral sulcus, then occipitotemporal, this one occipitotemporal sulcus, and this is the parahippocampal gyrus. Posteriorly it is continuous with this lingual gyrus. Then this is the medial occipitotemporal gyrus, and the lateral is the lateral occipitotemporal gyrus. So this is about the sulci and gyri on the inferior surface. Now in the midline you can see median structures, that is this is the part of this midbrain, and here this part anterior to this midbrain, that is the crus cerebri, this is the interpeduncular fossa, that is here is the mammillary body, then anterior this fossa it is bounded by this optic chiasma. So this is about the sulci gyri on the cerebral hemisphere. Now we will see about this classification of sulci. So first we will see about sulci which are classified on the basis of origin or formation. These sulci and gyri, they are mainly formed due to the excessive fast growth of cerebral cortex, and as there is within the cranial cavity there is a space is very less and the growth of the cerebral cortex it is fast. So to accommodate this excessive growth or fast growth of the cerebral cortex, these sulci and gyri they develop. So they are developed due to the exuberant growth of that cerebral cortex. So maximum sulci and gyri present on the cerebrum, they are primary sulci and they are developed due to exuberant growth of cerebral cortex, and example of this primary sulcus is the central sulcus. Then secondary sulci means that is these sulci they develops other than the exuberant growth, and example is the lateral sulcus and the parieto-occipital sulcus, and this lateral sulcus it is developed due to the slow growth of insular cortex, and as we have seen that this insular cortex it is hidden in the depth of this posterior ramus and the stem of that lateral sulcus. So this insular cortex it grows slow and the adjacent areas they grow faster, so they overlaps this insular cortex and there is the development of that lateral sulcus, and this lateral sulcus it develops secondary to the slow growth of that insular cortex. Then other example of this secondary sulcus is the parieto-occipital sulcus, and this parieto-occipital sulcus it develops secondary to the development of corpus callosum and its growth. So these primary and secondary sulci they are classified on the basis of their origin or their formation. Then second classification, that is on the basis of depth of the sulci. Some sulci they are shallow, some sulci they are deeper and they reach up to the wall of the ventricles and they produce bulgings or indentation on the wall of the ventricles, and these are called as complete sulci. That means these complete sulci they reach up to the wall of the ventricle and they produce bulging on the wall of the ventricle, and example is the collateral sulcus. This collateral sulcus which is present on the inferior surface and it produces that is the bulging that is called as collateral eminence which is present on the inferior horn of lateral sulcus. Then second example of this complete sulcus is the calcarine sulcus, and this calcarine sulcus it is present in the on the medial surface in the occipital lobe. So this calcarine sulcus it reaches up to the posterior horn, wall of the posterior horn of lateral sulcus and it produces bulging and that is called as calcar evis. And other sulci, these are the incomplete sulci, they are shallow, they do not reach up to the wall of the ventricles. Then third classification on the basis of functions, and they are classified into limiting sulcus, axial sulcus and the operculated sulcus. Now this limiting sulcus means it limits two functionally different areas, and central sulcus is the example of that limiting sulcus, and we have seen that anterior to this central sulcus there is the precentral gyrus, and this precentral gyrus is the motor area, and posterior to the central sulcus there is the postcentral gyrus, and this postcentral gyrus is the sensory area. So this central sulcus it separates the functionally two different areas, that is the motor and sensory area. So this central sulcus is the limiting sulcus. Then second is the axial sulcus, and axial sulcus means that sulcus it develops along the long axis of that developing cerebral cortex, and example is the posterior part of calcarine sulcus, and this posterior part of the calcarine sulcus it develops along the longitudinal axis of that visual area, that is the striate area. And third example is the third type of sulcus on the basis of this function is the operculated sulcus, and this operculated sulcus example is the lunate sulcus, and we have seen that lunate sulcus it is present on the superolateral surface just in front of occipital pole, and this operculatal sulcus means this sulcus, it separates two structurally different areas, and there is third area which is present in the wall of this sulcus. So this lunate sulcus, it separates the striate area from the parastriate area, and in the depth of this lunate sulcus there lies the peristriate area. So this is about the classification of sulci. So these sulci, they are classified on the basis of origin or formation into primary and secondary sulci. On the basis of depth, they are divided into complete and incomplete, and on the basis of function, they are divided into limiting sulcus, axial sulcus, and the operculated sulci. And this is all about external features of that cerebral hemisphere, that is its poles, borders, surfaces, then sulci, gyria on the superolateral surface, medial surface, and the inferior surface. And this is all about today's lecture. In the next lecture, we will see about functional areas of cerebral cortex. But before that, you must read today's topic. If you understand today's topic, then only you understand that functional areas of cerebral cortex. Thank you. Have a good day.